Welcome, everybody. The sun may not be setting right now where you are, like where I am here on the East Coast, where it's 1 p.m. Eastern, but it is setting on Microsoft Dynamics AX as we knew it. And what we're going to talk to you about today is what's next. What's next in the ERP platform? What's next in industry? And we're going to get started with a little bit of introductions of myself and my co-presenter. My name is Andrew Lensack. I'm a Director of Solution Delivery here at Arbella, at Argano Arbella, specializing in supply chain and manufacturing. And with me today is Sevi Kaya. Sevi, welcome.
Hi, Andrew, and this is Sevi. I'm Technical Delivery Manager in Arbella, Argano Arbella. And yeah, as Drew mentioned, we will presenting the meeting together today.
Great, thank you, Sevi. So real quick, I'll go over our agenda so you guys can have an expectation of what's to come over the next 30 minutes, and then we'll get right into it. So today's agenda, first off, what does end of support actually mean for Dynamics AX? Whether you're on a really early version, whether you're on AX 2009, AX 2012, R2, R3, what does that mean for your business? What encompasses the end of life support for Dynamics AX? And then we'll get into what are some of the common challenges companies are seeing in finance and supply chain. What are they seeing today? What are they facing in the ERP? What are they facing in their industry trends that they need to look for new technology for, new solutions in the ERP space? We'll then touch upon how Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management can address some of those challenges, an overview of what is available in the latest and greatest of Dynamics, and then touch upon the total economic impact. What is the cost to you as an organization to migrate or upgrade from an earlier version of Dynamics AX to Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management? And finally, we'll do a high-level overview of the upgrade process. And with that, for you all to know, this will be a string of a few of these kind of upgrade or migration stories to D365 sessions that we will have. We will touch upon a session that we're going to have in a few weeks to follow up on this one as well. So welcome, everybody. Strap in. We got a good, I think, bit of content for you here over the next few minutes. And Sevi's going to start us off with Dynamics AX end of support dates.
Dynamics AX end of support dates, basically, with this slide, you can see all the mainstream support end dates and extended support end dates. And mostly, as you can see here, AX 2009, and it's already done. It's already mainstream support ended, and extended support ended as well. I mean, almost ended as well. It will be done actually next month. And basically, when it comes to do old versions, we can basically upgrade AX 2009 and 2012, but for the R2 and R3, we can upgrade them, but for the AX 2009 and 2012, we are migrating the versions. But first, we will talk about them. We will explain you basically how we can, in the next week mostly, how we will upgrade this version, how we will do the code upgrade, how we will do the data upgrade, and how we are using hybrid method for doing that. But for this slide, it's basically just showing us what is the consequences of Microsoft ending the support for this version. So the main thing is actually you have to, as a you have to deal with all the breaks and fixes for the current customizations. You have to, if you want a new feature, there's no feature anymore. Microsoft won't provide anything. So you have to have your development team or your partner to develop new feature. So, and if there is any, again, if something already there's an issue, so basically you are taking the risk if there's an incompatibility problem. So yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, just next month, all R2, AX 2000 R2, AX 2012 R2 to AX 2012, and AX 2009 extended support will be end.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And, I think that bottom bullet touches upon something that a lot of companies think is the opposite. They always think upgrading to the cloud and to the latest and greatest is going to be costly. But as you can see here, as you mentioned, the impact on your technical and IT team, the total cost could keep getting higher remaining on that legacy system. So why don't you talk to us a little bit more about the technical and business implications here with those end of support dates?
Absolutely. It's basically that means we don't, Microsoft is not providing any fixes for breaks or future enhancements or third-party integrations. As I mentioned, you have to cover those changes with in-house IT team, or you have to cover them with your partners. So basically, there's no support anymore. Your cost will be higher, and your risk will be higher as well, since no support anymore from Microsoft. And basically, you can see the bullets here, and the first, they are very, very similar. They're actually saying the same thing. When you can look at the first one, basic no longer updated. This is actually the first reason, and after this reason, the second one is second one basically part of the first one. It's saying us no break, basically there is no any break fixes, there is no continued functionality fixes, and the last one is actually talking about only new features, new functionality development. So it's not supported too. And when you look at the business implications, it's all related to cost. Is your IT team will be busy, and your cost, of course, will increase because of that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sevi. So, related to that, where I want to go next is talking about what the businesses are seeing. Sure, there's that technical piece, which I'll touch upon, but as Sevi mentioned, the end of support, no longer supporting break fixes, no longer supporting continuous improvement, right? With later systems, we see constant updates and continuous updates. What are those businesses facing? And I see a few things. So, one, we have surging data changing all the time. If you don't have a static, financial work stream, your goals might change, right? What are your goals for this year? Is it having a lot of cash? Is it having a lot of inventory? Whatever that may be, shifts in your surging data with those legacy systems that are no longer being updated and static reporting because you don't have tools, intelligent business intelligence tools, for example, to help you report. That becomes a huge challenge for businesses. Anticipating the changes, how complex their business could be. When I look at what's happened with COVID, for example, and businesses shifting to a remote model, retail was hit, obviously the restaurant industry was hit. Their complexity changed overnight, and not having tools that can align with those changes and react to those changes quickly, or even preemptively analyze trends that could lead to those changes becomes a massive initiative for companies, because they spend so much of that time, as you mentioned, and the cost of maintaining that old system becomes exponentially higher. Also, with those legacy systems, AX 2009 as a prime example, there was a lot of missing functionality, right? So we had manual workarounds, we had inefficient and error-prone processes, right? We didn't maybe have workflow available out of the box that was enough. We didn't have things like Power Automate to pair with an ERP to help solve some of those gaps. So companies are struggling with keeping up with that, the amount of tasks, non-value added tasks that their users have to do, approving invoices, for example, things like that can become very difficult with an outdated system. And then finally, increasing regulations, risks, and threats. You move to an international model. You're going to have new regulations that you have to abide by, and you need a platform that will allow you to do that, so you don't have to continuously customize or look for add-ons. You're in a specific industry. Look at the cannabis industry in the United States right now. It's different in every state. There's regulations at the federal level, the state level, they're changing all the time. They need to find systems that work for them and help them meet those regulatory needs with the government, meet state and local and national regulations. They're different in every country. The risks that come along with that, the threats that come along with that. So all things that financial leadership and organizations need to think about. So what are they doing about it? What are they going to consider to address these challenges? And one of the main things is modern technology. How can we look at modern technology, whether it's AI or machine learning? How can we look at improved process changes and culture shifts to move forward? With the surging data intelligence, having data that is relevant for your business is truly important, and having that data that's available to you at your fingertips, right? If you have a lot of disparate systems, you have an ERP and a CRM and an HR system, and they're all disparate, you need to be able to bring that data together so it's meaningful for your organization, so you can do something with that data and turn it into a positive change, turn it into revenue for your company. These facts I have up on the screen here from Forrester. As you can see, 85% of CEOs report that their CFO's ability to analyze data and produce meaningful insights was key to their profit growth. So if they don't have those tools to analyze the data, to look at summary level and aggregate level, plus drill down capabilities, get to the things that are relevant for their industries, there's no way they can see that profit growth and continue to get bigger and better. Touching upon that, more inadequate tools, whether it's reporting tools, whether it's remote capabilities, whether it's a warehouse management solution, a planning solution, AP automation. I mentioned AI and machine learning, which are kind of buzzwords in the business world the past few years, but those things are really starting to become real. When we look at Microsoft, there's things like the HoloLens and assisted guides. There's IoT, the Internet of Things, and connected devices. 80% of new AI projects in the finance domain will be deployed using out-of-the-box functionality by companies like Microsoft, pushing this, making it the norm, right? Workflows in the past used to be a paper-based thing. Those became automated and systematically based. Now we can do that with other tools as well. The manual processes, that's a huge pain point for a lot of companies, and being able to reduce that time it takes to approve things, to pass a workflow, to initiate a transaction. Having automation for that can really drastically improve your business. If we have a tool that looks at those rules that we have in our business, it prevents the CFOs from having to sign off on things that are immaterial or lower criticality. So AP automation tools, invoice automation tools, tools that give their users access no matter where they are really huge. And then finally, the risk management piece that I mentioned in the last slide. Fraud is something that is on the minds of a lot of companies. When we see people move into the cloud, when we see people have systematic access, there's always this risk of, is it secure? Is our data secure? Can only the people who need to see it, or is there some sort of risk that we are open to? And that is something that a lot of companies are looking for to make sure that their businesses stay delivering what they need to without risking their future. And then similarly in the supply chain, there's a lot of challenges we're facing with outdated technology and processes. Having an end-to-end supply chain visibility, being able to connect to vendors and customers via portal, having employees able to access information, right? I'll give COVID as another example, made a lot of people remote. All of a sudden, maybe we don't have as much staff on the production floor and we need help with a machine. We don't have the planning data we need to have because customer forecasts are held in an external system. All that stuff is really, really important. So do we have the tools to get that information to the entire supply chain? Do we have ATP tools for sales order promising, for example, or are we doing a lot of that manually? There is a lack of agility to meet changing customer demand. So being able to be flexible, having an older system where you can't pivot to meet growing needs of your industry can be a real challenge. Disparate systems, outdated technology, we talked about that a lot already, but if your ERP is older, that prevents you a lot of times from taking advantage of other things outside of the ERP as well in the technology stream that can transform your company, whether, like I said, that's a WMS tool, whether that's a barcoding tool, a document storage solution, a communications app, anything like that. You really want to streamline that as much as possible to avoid falling into some of those pitfalls. Workforce empowerment and management, giving people the ability to make decisions quickly, giving them the ability to access what they need to, having things available on a tablet, having things available on a phone, having workflow that touches upon systems, using things like Teams, for example, and all the integration you can do with that is really important in today's business world, because you need to be ready for on-site work, remote work, hybrid work, whatever it may be, to keep your supply chain moving. So a huge challenge companies are facing right now, and why they're turning to modern technology to address that. And then finally, the inability to ensure business continuity. How easy is it to train someone on new technology? Do we have systems in place for our digital technologies to ramp up new processes when we need to, ramp up new modules when we need to? Maybe we want to implement an asset management solution. Do we have proper processes in place to ensure that we can hire new people to help with that, or upskill existing workforces to help with that? What are those things we need to address so that we, once again, don't become a victim of changes in our supply chain? So with that, as I mentioned, companies are looking at technology. D365 as one of the premier ERP platforms out there is no different. And we're going to break this up really into addressing it as Dynamics 365 Finance and Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management, just because of the licensing and what tools are available. If you're a company who doesn't do manufacturing and distribution, maybe you're only buying the functionality that's in Dynamics 365 Finance. But what are these programs, what are these parts of D365 offer you to address those financial and supply chain challenges we have discussed? One is enhancing your financial decision making, having the right KPIs, having dashboards of information. D365 offers this workspace role. If you're on AX 2012, you had the role center, and that was kind of a light version of this. But think about having that one daily view dashboard of drill down reports of key KPIs that your business needs, so that users can make quick decisions. And then if they need to get into the granular detail of reporting, they can. And having that not only in data, but visually is really key for a lot of companies. Unifying and automating your business processes. D365, there's a lot of automation, whether it's through workflow, whether it's through integration with Power Apps and Power Automate, using the rest of the Microsoft stack with Azure and Power Platform and the Dataverse, being able to really treat the entire business as a unified solution and align them on your business processes is something that Dynamics really offers companies. Having a strategic impact, reducing your costs. Abby mentioned a little bit about the total kind of, ROI right now. If you're on an older platform, you're taking a lot of internal costs to not only support it, but to maintain it. With D365 and the options you have, not having to maintain some of the technical side of things, where you would on-premise versus in the cloud. That can drastically reduce your costs. And then decreasing the global financial complexity and risk. When you look at things like consolidation across multiple legal entities, when you look at having to respect SOX compliance if you're a publicly traded company or anything like that, having a modern ERP like D365 allows you to address those challenges with built-in tools that cater for regulatory requirements, whether they be local, regional, or national. And then on the supply chain side, there's tools really across the wealth of the supply chain. There's quality management tools to help you reduce quality issues and accelerate your time to market. That pairs well with the engineering change management module that became available in Dynamics 365 in the past year or so. Something that's really helped a lot of companies maintain that full product lifecycle that we were previously looking at from an ISV. Now that's built into the core ERP. Gaining planning agility to fulfill customer demand, multiple tools to address that, whether that's the out-of-the-box master planning and demand forecasting functionality, now with planning optimization to run planning as a service, where a master planning run of hours now could take minutes, optimizing inventory and logistics through things like warehouse management or the intelligent order management tool, intelligent manufacturing operations through the production execution interface, touchscreen abilities, IoT connected devices, and maximizing asset uptime and lifespan. Asset management as a solution in the core ERP is now something that's available as well. So really addressing the total supply chain needs in D365 that we've talked about so far. And how it continues to do that even after you implement it through the evergreen model and continuous updates. I'm now going to pass back to Sevi to talk about the service update principle model.
Yeah, I want to talk about how Microsoft doing the updates. It's not like upgrading AX 2012 to applying a hotfix or applying a new feature to the older legacy versions. It's literally taking 1 to 2 hours, and Microsoft for you applying these packages. And basically, this packages has fixes if there's anything needs to be fixed in the current version, and also it has new features, and they have a backward compatibility, and they're of course validating all the releases before releasing them. If you're willing to have this functionalities, new functionalities and fixes before everyone, they have a program, and basically you can be the first, one of the firsts. And they are updating your test UAT environment, and after one week they are upgrading your production. So basically you have a week to check, do your regression testing, do your the functionality, the old customization functionality control, and then you can actually allow Microsoft to update your production or not. So basically this is your choice. You can skip, opt out the version up to 3 versions, and basically if that time is not working for you, you can absolutely just do it next week. And apart from that, you don't have to, your IT team don't have to deal with that. As I mentioned, Microsoft is handling. If you have any dev environment, that time you need to upgrade them, but apart from that, the test environment and productions are basically in Microsoft control. And another very important thing I really think it's backups. So backups are so important for your IT, and Microsoft keeping every 15 minutes backup for your production and for your test environment. But for test environments, they are basically keeping a week backups. For production is more than that. So is that way, if something happened, if you don't want to roll back, it's really, you are just looking at hours, like a couple of hours. I'm not talking about really days. So it's, and you don't have to maintain the servers. This is another great thing. Everything's handled by Microsoft. If you find an issue in the current system, you are creating a ticket and just talking with Microsoft consultants and just, to fix the issue. Yeah, basically, apart from that, you can see the other details in the slide. Just they are providing all the update window, and if there's any depreciation, they are providing it 12 months before. And as I mentioned, these are not like applying hot fixes. These are really taking maximum like 2 hours, and usually in Saturdays, but you can define the time. I think we can go to the next slide. Thank you. And Drew already mentioned about unity of the Microsoft products with the Dynamics 365. Basically, Power BI is really Dynamics 365 it has some embedded Power BI reports, but apart from that, you can develop your Power BI reports as well. And Power Apps, yeah, just you can literally like in a day you can create your mobile app, and it can be reached out everywhere. So and I think it's really important to for your basically your users and your customers to have something really mobile. And other Dynamics 365 applications are integrated very well with the D365 FO. If you FNO and supply chain, if you are using customer services, or marketing or field service or talent, they are integrate. We can integrate the you can integrate to the D365. So this is really Microsoft is really providing a whole platform for your own needs. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Eddie. So, we've mentioned a lot of kind of things so far about the impact on the business, the technical impact, the business impact, but what does it mean dollar-wise? What does it mean to the bottom line? Companies are considering how much will it cost us to move to D365. And as you can see here, there's a lot of reasons to think that overall and definitely in the long term, there will be a cost savings for your organization. Whether that's through the average licensing and support savings you can face by moving to the cloud. 20% right now is the figure we've seen from studies done by Forrester on moving from previous versions of AX to 365 in the cloud. And a lot of that's because of consolidating those on-premise licensing and support costs, the different levels you have, the restructuring of that. That's a huge area to look into to reduce your overall costs. The average infrastructure savings per server across deployment, Sevi touched upon this from a technical aspect in terms of what things you no longer have to maintain, what's no longer necessary, whether it's the refreshes for server and networking hardware or the costs themselves. A huge savings we've seen from companies so far in that area. And then the productivity itself is a massive figure. That's probably the biggest area we've seen is the reduced burden on IT system admins, on internal analyst teams because of areas you've seen Microsoft improved in, whether it's the functionality itself or what they're doing with documentation and tech talks and Yammer and things like that. We've seen a great increase in productivity. From a model financial impact, you can see here some of the migration costs paid back in 6 months on average done by that same study. Companies have been saving a lot of money by moving to D365, I think kind of countering the old argument that it would cost so much more to move to the cloud. And then, the last thing we want to touch upon, and Sevi, if you want to mention the process upgrade overview here in a second, is we will be coming back next in a few weeks as well to learn about various migration paths, considerations, best practices with a panel of people from Argano or Billa, as well as clients at Microsoft. But Sevi, you want to touch upon these last 3 bullets here before we open it up for questions?
Sure. We have currently talking about 2009 and 2012 upgrades. So in the next meeting, we will go a little bit more deeper than this, but I can just briefly say for the 2009 and 2012 feature pack, there's no direct upgrade path, but absolutely we can install some tools and extract the data and import it to the version. But for the 2012 R2 and R3, we have direct upgrade options. We will talk about them on the next meeting.
Great. And yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, right? Is what are those options? It might not be quote unquote an upgrade, but migration, what tools are available? We kind of bullet those here and we'll talk about that more.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Sevi, for presenting today. Great information. And thank you, everybody, for joining.